Virgo, a long time coming. Uh, what I have today has been fermenting. That's the only word for it. Like and subscribe if you're ready for this. So let's open it. Fermentation is not a metaphor here, it is the most accurate description of what has been happening in the material of your life for the period that preceded this reading. The specific biological cannot be rushed process by which something that has been assembled, the ingredients gathered, the conditions created, the vessel sealed transforms over time into something fundamentally different from what was placed inside it. Not improved, not polished, transformed, the sugars becoming alcohol, the grain becoming bread, the grape becoming something that has no flavor equivalent in the raw fruit that contains in its fermented form a complexity and a depth and a chemical character that was present in potential in what was placed in the vessel, but that could not be accessed without the time and the specific conditions of the sealed container and the invisible, microbial, entirely unspectacular work of transformation that no one watches because there is nothing visible to watch. The vessel has been sealed for long enough. The transformation is complete. What comes out of the sealed vessel when it is finally opened? What has been fermenting in the specific, invisible, entirely unspectacular way of transformation that cannot be hurried by attention or intention or the urgency of someone who wants the result faster than the process allows. What comes out is not what went in, is richer, is more complex, is capable of producing effects in the world around it that the raw ingredients were not capable of producing, is in the specific chemical, non metaphorical sense of the word ready, fully and actually ready in a way that readiness in an earlier stage of the process would not have been. This is the opening of the vessel. The big win, let's not be coy about what this means. It means something large shifting in your favor, in the direction of your efforts, in correspondence with what you have been building, in a form that constitutes genuine material improvement in the conditions of your life, rather than the cosmetic improvement of a situation that remains structurally unchanged beneath its improved surface. The big win is structural. It changes what is possible from here, not just what is currently present. It alters the ground conditions, the baseline from which all subsequent choices are made, the foundation beneath whatever is built next, the specific quality of stability or instability that determines how high and how freely and how durably anything built on top of it can grow. It is not a fluke. This matters to say directly and early because the experience of receiving something large when you have been in a period of smaller things, of managing and navigating and making the best of the available conditions, can trigger the specific uncomfortable reaction of someone who does not trust the large thing to be what it appears to be, who is looking for the catch, who has learned through real and legitimate experience that things that look like big wins sometimes turn out to be something more complicated, and who is therefore applying that learning here to this in a way that may prevent the full reception of something that is not complicated. That is what it is. That is genuinely, structurally lasting in its nature rather than transient. Look for the catch and you will find a way to see one. Or you can look at what is actually there. The fermentation is complete. The transformation happened. What is opening is real. The dream. Dreams occupy a specific category in human experience that is worth naming precisely before we go further into this, because the category matters to how you receive what is coming. Dreams are not wishes. Wishes are requests sent in the direction of what we want, addressed to whatever we believe might be listening, with full awareness that the wish and its fulfillment are different things and that the fulfillment is not guaranteed. Dreams are different. Dreams are the interior knowledge of what is actually for you, what corresponds so precisely to the specific unrepeatable combination of who you are and what you need, and what would allow you to function at the full register of your own capacity that the imagination refuses to stop returning to it, regardless of how reasonable the argument for letting it go might be. Dreams are not aspirations, they are recognitions. They are the self knowing itself accurately enough to identify what it actually requires. The dream that comes true is not a dream that you finally get. It is a dream that you finally arrive at, that arrives at you simultaneously, that meets you at the specific point in your becoming where the dream and the person are finally, after the long process of each developing separately, each becoming what the other requires in the same place at the same time, which is why it feels like recognition when it happens. Not like receiving something new, but like returning to something that was always yours. Not like luck, but like rightness. The specific, quiet, entirely undeserved in the conventional sense of the word, but absolutely corresponding rightness of something that was always going to be yours, finding its way to you in the season when you had finally become the person it required. The dream is not arriving from outside you. It is arriving from the direction of your own fullest becoming. You dreamed it because it was true. It is coming true because you were right. Someone can't get enough of you. The most electric part of the title, and the one most likely to produce the complicated mixture of wanting to believe and not quite letting yourself, that characterizes the reception of information about being. Deeply, persistently, cannot stop themselves desired. The mixture is understandable. The not quite letting yourself has its reasons, good reasons, earned reasons, the specific reasons of someone who has let themselves believe this kind of thing before and found the believing was not supported by the reality, who has recalibrated accordingly, who now approaches such information with the protective caution of someone who has learned that wanting to be wanted can make the evidence look like more than it is. But sometimes the evidence is what it is. Sometimes someone can't get enough of you is simply the accurate description of what is happening in a specific person's experience of you, and the accuracy of it is not altered by the protective caution you bring to receiving it. The protection does not change the reality. It only changes your relationship to the reality, whether you receive it fully or receive it at a managed distance that prevents the full landing of something that is actually real. What is real here is this. There is a person for whom you have become the primary variable, not in the way of someone who is obsessed in the unhealthy, consuming, boundary erasing sense of obsession, in the way of someone who has encountered something in you, the specific, fermenting, increasingly complex and rich version of you that the period of the sealed vessel has been producing, and found that their relationship to ordinary experience has changed because of the encounter. Found that comparison happens involuntarily, that this is fine, but that here is good, but that the but always resolves in your direction, that the ordinary quality of life without you in it has a specific, undeniable, this was not here before flatness that the ordinary quality of life with you does not have, that the difference is not explainable by the usual variables, that they have looked for an explanation and found only you. They have found only you, and found you to be in the full and unqualified and cannot be disputed sense of the word enough, more than enough. The specific, exact, finally here version of enough that they did not know they were looking for until they encountered it in you, and then immediately, unmistakably knew what cannot be gotten enough of. Not everything which would be too large and too diffuse to be meaningful. Something specific. The particular quality of presence you bring, which is not the same quality of presence that everyone brings, which is not generic warmth or generic intelligence or generic anything, but the specific, yours alone combination that produces in certain people the experience of being actually met, of being in contact with something real rather than the surface performance of something real, of having the specific, rare, cannot be manufactured experience of another person being genuinely, undistractedly, completely there. That is rare enough to produce the can't get enough response in someone who has experienced it. Because most people, most of the time, are not fully there. They are partly there and partly elsewhere in their concerns, in their self monitoring, in the performance of engagement that passes for engagement in most human interaction, but that the body of the other person can tell at some level below articulation is not the same thing. The body knows the difference between being actually met and being performed at. And the body that has been actually met, that has been in contact with someone who was genuinely, undistractedly, wholly present, does not forget the difference, does not stop wanting to return to the thing that produced the experience, does not get enough of it, because enough would require the thing to be available in abundance, and the thing is rare, and rare things are by definition insufficient to the appetite they create in the people who have tasted them. You created the appetite, is less than #0. 5# is greater than. By being genuinely present in the specific way that genuine presence is rare, by being actually there in the way that actually there is unusual, by bringing yourself the full, fermenting, complex, transformed by time and condition version of yourself into contact with this person and producing in them the specific, irreversible experience of having been fully met, and now they cannot get enough, not of a performance, of you, of the actual chemical compound that the fermentation produced, of what you have become. Getting ready. The title says, Get ready, and the getting ready deserves its own attention because readiness, as we have been discussing across several readings, is not a passive state. It is a specific quality of active orientation toward what is approaching, not the bracing posture of someone who expects impact and is stiffening against it, not the grasping posture of someone who is reaching toward what has not yet arrived, but the specific, alive, paying attention quality of someone who knows something is coming, has cleared the space for it, has set down whatever was in their hands that would prevent them from receiving it, and is now simply open, present, available in the full sense of the word, which means not occupied with anything that would prevent the full reception of what arrives. 3 things to set down before this arrives. The first is the habit of interpreting incoming good things through the filter of past bad things. The filter is understandable. It was developed in response to real experience, and it protects against real categories of risk. But it was not calibrated for what is approaching. It cannot distinguish between the good that was complicated and the good that is simply good. It applies the same skepticism to both, and in doing so delays and sometimes prevents the full reception of the latter. Set it down for this, not forever it has its uses, and they are real, but for this. Let what is arriving arrive without the filter. The second is the undersizing. The habit developed through the same period that developed the filter of making what you want smaller before you let yourself have it, of translating large desires into modest ones before exposing them to the world, because modest desires are less painful when they fail, and large desires make you more visible in your wanting, and visibility in your wanting has historically cost something. The undersizing protected you. It no longer serves you in this. What is approaching is sized for your actual desire, your actual capacity, your actual version of the dream, not the modest translation you have been living inside. Receive the actual size. The third is the low-level ongoing expenditure of attention toward what might go wrong. The specific draining background process quality of someone who has learned to monitor the horizon for signs that good things are about to reverse, who checks, who stays alert to the indicators of reversal even while the good thing is still arriving, who cannot quite rest inside the good because the monitoring is always running. The monitoring has been running for a long time. Give it a rest. Not permanently. Some horizon monitoring is healthy, and the complete cessation of it would be its own form of naivety. But for the window of this arrival, let the good thing arrive into a field that is not already monitoring it for the signs of its own undoing. What get ready actually means for you specifically. Not a dramatic gesture, not the clearing of a deck or the burning of a bridge or any of the theatrical preparations that readiness can be confused with. What get ready means here for you in this reading, at this specific configuration of your life, is small and specific and requires nothing more than a deliberate reorientation of where you are placing your attention in the next period of days. Place it on what is working, not on what isn't, which has been the default setting of someone managing a constrained situation and therefore necessarily focused on the constraints. The constraints are real and they have deserved the attention. But the constrained period is ending. The fermentation is complete. What is opening requires a different orientation of attention toward what is opening, toward what is arriving, toward what is already here in its earliest form and will be more fully here if met with the attention of someone who is ready for it rather than still oriented toward the management of what it is replacing. Turn toward what is opening. The win, the dream, the person who cannot get enough. They are all moving in the same direction toward you, and they are moving toward the version of you that has cleared the space, set down the filter and the undersizing and the monitoring, and is standing in the open with the specific, alive, paying attention quality of someone who knows what is coming and has chosen to be fully present for the arriving of it. That version of you is available right now. Not after more preparation, not after more time. Right now, in this moment, the vessel opened, the fermentation completed its work. What you are is ready. What is arriving corresponds to what you are. The three are one thing. This is worth stating clearly before the closing because the title presents three separate events: the win, the dream, the person who can't get enough, in a way that suggests they are distinct deliveries from distinct sources landing at different coordinates of your life. They are not. They are three aspects of a single movement. Three facets of the same transformation made visible from different angles. The win is what the dream come true looks like from the material world. The dream come true is what the win looks like from the interior. The person who can't get enough is what the win and the dream look like in the field of human relationship, is the person-shaped expression of a more than person-shaped transformation. All three are the fermentation completing itself. All three are the vessel opening. All three are the thing you have been waiting for, which is not a thing, but a season. The season of correspondence, of the life beginning to correspond to the person, of what is outside beginning to match what has been developing inside across the long, invisible, entirely unspectacular period of transformation, of the fermented thing finally being poured from the vessel into the open air where it can become what fermented things become when they meet the world they were made for. That season is here. Opening today. For you, get ready, Virgo. Not because something is arriving from outside that will change you, because what you already are is finally arriving in the world.